Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakaha, Kodash. Double honors into the apostles, double honors into the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so. Now more so than ever, the would-be judges, the 144,000, 12,000 from each of the tribes of Israel. All right, that will be the judges here on earth over all governments, which will be the government, the governing body of the heavenly government on earth as it is in heaven. All right, well, all nations of the world will be put under their authority, which is the number one reason how you know that Israel has not been restored yet, because that is not happening. All right, to the rest of the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be among the heathen nation, often having the appearance of the heathen nations. All right, and the few Akwaf that are listening and learning to you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago. Do not get it twisted. The primary body of the Israelites here on earth today are the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, and just because mainstream media, mainstream false religion such as Christianity, Judaism, Islam, have cognitive denialism of all the facts, the scriptures, the precepts, the history, the relics, all right, that prove exactly what I said. They just want to ignore them. The same way that all this evidence with Epstein all of a sudden just doesn't exist. All right. Is anyone shocked? I faced this in court, you know, when we bring forth the exhibits that prove you're right and prove the mainstream wrong. Right? The mainstream has all the power. It just proves that the Israelites have no voice yet again. Because when you prove them wrong on their own platform, they just change the page, dismiss it, and do a media blackout on it. Because all they're going to do now is just, now that they dismiss this Epstein thing, the same way they try to dismiss the evidence of the Israelites, they just don't talk about it anymore. All right? They just won't show it on the news anymore. So how they shadow ban our videos and that whole sort of thing. So if you're not searching, you know, or if the Lord doesn't want you to see this information, you're not going to see it. But, you know, you'd have to go back and watch the first video referring to this pastor here, Pastor PastorGreg Locke, who's a complete liar that pushed forth a propaganda narrative about the Israelis. And, you know, and who the Israelites are and how we're supposed to support Israel. That's nowhere in the Bible. Israel will get no support, only from the Most High himself and their Savior, their Redeemer. The nations would not come together to support, and, you know, and Israel would not be a welfare state to their enemies. Israel will be scattered among their enemies on the bottom with no voices. That's what the Bible says, you know, Pastor Greg. Okay, but we're just gonna jump right into the scriptures on this one. We're gonna let the scriptures speak. All right, on, you know, to destroy the narrative that Christianity pushes. It's not biblical, and all of this is being done for the controversy of Zion. Open my Bible app, and it's on Isaiah 34. So I'm gonna jump right to verse 8. Said, "For this is a day of Yahweh's vengeance, and a year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion." See, the Bible warns us there will be a controversy of Zion, who the Israelites are. That's the controversy. You have a fraudulent people in the land of Israel, which they don't want to acknowledge the evidences that prove that, just like they're not acknowledging all the evidences of you know, of pedo acts by people in high places here. On the Epstein's list. Now, all of a sudden, the Epstein, you had 3 huge files, and now all of a sudden, there's no evidence in any of them. Yeah. And then what they do, they killed the one man, or disappeared him, whatever the hell happened to him. Okay? You don't even hear a Ghislaine Maxwell anymore. What is she in jail for? What was all those trials for? What was happening? The records in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial will prove that the Epstein list actually exists. But no one's going to talk about that or bring that up in the mainstream media. All right. These people are liars. You know, it's just like when you got all law enforcement is corrupt. All right. Whether they're outly corrupt or they just look the other way while the other ones do the corruption. You know, you cannot run to the cops to investigate the cops. And these corrupt people have put themselves in a position of power. And you idiots here in Babylon still want to run to these people to think you're going to get some sort of justice or salvation from these people. You are not. Okay? But this is Isaiah 41 and 14. And I, particularly with this scripture, I don't think this is by coincidence that this scripture, when you look at the numbers, that is 144. All right, but it says, because this is proof that the Israelites would have no power. The 144,000 who would be the would-be judges, they have the most extreme form of humility and being on the bottom. Why? Because they have to be the judges of all mankind. So we have to have been on the top, on the bottom, and everything in the middle. And we are completely and totally on the bottom. Okay? This is Isaiah 41 and 14. Fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel. I will help thee, saith Yahweh, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. Okay, so the Lord is going to send Yahweh. There is no other way out of this. I can't second or third degree black belt my way out of this. I can't Muay Thai my way out of this. I can't wrestle, fight, throw elbows. I cannot. All right. There is no way out of this except through Yahweh Shai. Point blank, period. Not through APAC, not through JPS, not through all these NGOs. That's what what's his name was talking about when he said they lobby. What's his name? What was this video? Just trying to think of this guy. This guy.
They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the... They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right.
Right, because if you're critical thinking, all right, they own and control the corporations. They own the media. They got this lobbyist, and if you're critical thinking, that's anti-semantics. All right, you're thinking, you're an anti. All right, we got to stop this anti stuff. Okay, and yet these people are claiming to be Israel. Israel would have no power, no voice, no say so. Will be the complete victims. All right. As a matter of fact, let's get some scriptures to substantiate that. Once again, going to the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha, you just witnessed it. What happened to the Apocrypha is what happened to the Epstein files, is what happened to all the evidence and the receipts that I brought against Title 4D in the courtroom. That they just simply want to dismiss and keep out of the court. All right, because I actually asked for a trial by jury, because I didn't want to bench, trial where it's just me, the judge, and a couple of lawyers. I wanted the 12 people, citizens, to see and hear this information, and they're like, oh no. All right, and then there'll be a court record of it too. So they're doing the same thing. They're just trying to keep the truth from being heard. This is Baruch 2. 30 through 35, because see, the Israelites were scattered. As a matter of fact, before I read that, let me read Baruch 4 and 6. Let's read that one first. This is Baruch 4 and 6, and it reads, Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved God to wrath, you were delivered unto your enemies. The Israelites were delivered unto their enemies among all nations. All right? Among all nations. The Indians, the people in South Asia, they're among the Thais, they're among the Chinese, they're among the Japanese. It tells you in Isaiah 16 and 4 that the Lord among the Chinese, that the Lord hid Judah among Moab. You know, the whole Bruce Lee thing that they like to try to scoff. But when you look at Bruce Lee's style, his attitude, where the rest of the Chinese like him. But anyway, you know, I digress. You know, when I say among the heathen, I have the appearance of the heathen. These are the things that even Israel wants to deny. Okay, Baruch 4 and 10. For I saw the captivity of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting brought upon them. All right. Going to continue to 13. Next point is in 13, but I'll read 11 and 12. With the joy did I nourish them, but sent them away with weeping and mourning. So the Lord kept a remnant. That remnant are those who awakened. Let no man rejoice over me, a widow and forsaken of many, who for the sins of my children am left desolate, because they departed from the law of God. See, we departed from the law, which is why the Lord, and were following and mingling with the heathen. So the Lord punished us and sent us among them. So you want to be among the heathen so bad, there you go. But we went in chains and in slavery as servants, you know, and are on the bottom. That's a part of the curses. All right. We wouldn't have welfare. We wouldn't have armies. We wouldn't have ways to defend ourselves. We wouldn't have a voice. All right. These people have it to where they have the mountains and the hills of the world coming against you if you even mention them, if you say anything against them. They don't have to be negative. You can just call out. He just told you, George Carwin, when he said they. All right. Who you think the they is that's capable of these things? They knew not the statutes, nor walked in the ways of his commandments, nor trod in the paths of discipline in his righteousness. All right. So once again, who is that they?
They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the... They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest.
Yeah, that's completely against their interest, and that will be completely and totally anti-semantics. All right? Can't have it. Okay? Let's go to Joel now. Because the Israelites went into slavery, got sold, and got scattered, man. Okay? This is Baruch 2 and 30. And it reads, For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves, and shall know that I am Yahweh their power. For I will give them a heart and ears to hear. Heart meaning mind. And they shall praise me in the land of their captivity, and think upon my name. And that's only the elect, because the rest of the Israel is calling on all these wrong names. They still calling on Jesus and Jehovah, Yahweh. All right, going to the converts, to the fraud, to the impostors, and using their broken form, their fraudulent form of Hebrew that they created to try to make themselves fit the false narrative that they're the Israelites, when they don't match up to any of the prophecies except the one of stealing the land of Israel, which is in Ezekiel 36 chapter, which no Christian, no rabbi, no one talks about Ezekiel the 36th chapter. They skip right over it like it's not even there, ignoring evidence, ignoring proof. And it was crazy. I looked up at the clock. It was 1444 when I said that, you know. It's crazy how that happens. I just happened to look up and it was right there. But it says, and I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they shall be lords of it, and I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. So they wouldn't be fighting over another people. They wouldn't be fighting with another people. Because the Palestinians, they've been there for close to 1,000 years now, but that's not their home either. All right? And it's definitely not the Edomites' home who go read Ezekiel 36 chapter. Focus on chapter 2 and verse 2 and verse 5. Okay? Baruch 2 and 35. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them and be their power. And they shall be my people. And I will no more drive my people Israel out of the land. And I will get that I have given them. So, all 12 tribes returned to Israel, not just the Jews. Remember, we talked about that word Jew, how it's a hijack. All right. And you have the Israelites and then you have Jewish. All right. And you have to go back to the time of John Hyrcanus. They try to connect it to Babylon. It had nothing to do with Babylon. All right. It had nothing to do with that. Those were still Israelites in Babylon. It said nothing about a conversion when you read about Daniel, when you read about Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. It was nothing about no conversion to Jewishness or to the following of the Talmud. That all came later. All right, so that's Esau playing with history, removing stuff. All right, what you have to learn about is when the Herodians, when John Hyrcanus, the second, which is I think was three generations in from, or 2 generations after Judas Maccabees. All right, yeah, they was in there. Yeah, he was the grandson. Yeah, so he's 2 generations later. All right, because I think he was a grandson of Jonathan, or he was a grandson of Simon, if I'm not mistaken. All right. And when he forced the Edomites that they had defeated and captured to follow the law, statutes, and commandments, those were your first first Jewish were Edomites. This is secular history that you can go read about. You can read about it first and foremost in the Bible, in the Apocrypha, and you can go right to secular history. There's a book on the shelf behind me, Who is Esau Edom, by Charles Wisner, who actually speaks about it. Okay, this is secular history. This actually happened. And they ignore it. The same way they're ignoring the information that proves, Hollywood's involvement, Trump's and Prince Philip's involvement with Pedo Island, with Epstein Island. All right. This is the book of Joel. The scriptures bear witness against these people, and they just, because the guys like this liar on the screen, they'll give a talking point, and talk about the the ish, the J-ish, as if they're the actual people. And it makes no sense. If that were the case, the Bible, it make absolutely no sense. But when you point out the fact that they're converts, then everything lines up perfect. Okay? But this is Joel 3 and verse 2. And it reads, and I will gather all the nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat and will plead with them for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. See, the Israelites are scattered among all people, and the land has been parted between Edomites and Ishmaelites. Okay? So you got Israeli Edomites and Palestinian Ishmaelites fighting over that land. Meanwhile, the Israelites, this is what happened to them. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might have drink. This is precepts to the curses, proving that Israel was sold into slavery. All right. And it's funny, the Jayish were the ones who owned the slave ships that took Israel into slavery. Yet this piece of shit on the screen will sit up and try to make the people who did that the victims. All right. And that you need to support them. That's secular history and evidence that cannot be denied. Well, I guess it can if you have cognitive denialism, because that's what's going on. Yeah, what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompenses upon your own head? So them trying to come against us, Tyre and Zidon being African nations, Hamites. Because, you know, the lie that they've propagated in America is that Africans were selling Africans. No, Africans were selling Israelites. Let's provide the receipt. It's always someone new. Once again, Africans were selling Israelites, a different dark race of people. Zondervan's Dictionary Bible. All right. It tells you right here. Okay, that Ham was the youngest son of Noah, progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. The Negroes was a different dark race. So they didn't come from Ham. They didn't come from Japhet. There's only one son left. That's Shem. His name is not Sem, by the way. He's not a Semite. He's actually a Shemite. All right. But the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. This information can also be found in the Young's Dictionary Bible and others. All right. So you can't get around these truths, no matter how hard you try. All right. These people are busted. They're liars. Okay. It says, because ye have taken my silver and gold and carried away into your temples my goodly pleasant things, the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem. Have ye sold unto the Grecians? Who were the Grecians at the time? The Edomites. They had already driven Japhet out of his land. That happened with Alexander of Macedon, Alexander the Great. Record of that's in secular history, but that's also found in the Bible in the first book of Maccabees. And it tells you in that book, the evils were multiplied when the Edomites got dominion. And they've had dominion ever since, except for that 1,000-year period after Rome fell and Europe was ran by the Israelites, dark people. That's why you have all the relics proving that. All right. From the Dark Ages all the way up until the Renaissance. And Esau, Edom in the Renaissance regained power, and he's been trying to get dominion over the earth and destroy the Israelites the entire time. Because this time, when he came back in power, he made sure to take away the Israelites' heritage from them. And then he claimed it for himself. And then liars like this piece of shit on the screen try to keep that lie alive just by saying things that don't match up biblically at all. Okay. And it says, and then all of a sudden you got this. Behold, I will raise them out of the place, whether you have sold them, and return your recompenses upon your own head. All of a sudden you got all these people saying, oh my God, we're the Israelites. That's the controversy of Zion. That's what Isaiah 34:8 was talking about. Baruch told you that they would remember themselves. All right. You got to remember when the guest was talking to this pastor and said that America has been cursed ever since it's been helping Israel. Look at the deterioration of America, because they've been helping Esau, Edom. All right. And the guy and he reminded him that the deterioration, and he was like, oh, well, because the pastor said America's in bad shape because of bad presidents. He was trying to blame it on the Democratic Party, but the guy, the pastor's actually the guest, but the host of the show reminded him that, wait a minute, all those presidents supported Israel. And look at America. See, think about it. Right? Look at the condition of America when all your presidents have supported Israel. And then you turn around and he said, in all of them but one. And that one president that didn't support Israel, well, he got assassinated. And so did his brothers. That was John F. Kennedy. All right. And his brother was running for president and he got assassinated too. I wonder why. And then here's the end result. Verse 8. I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians and a people far off, and the Lord has spoken it. If the Israelites were in rulership, they would be selling the sons and daughters of the people who sold them into slavery, who scattered them to the four corners of the earth. So the Israelites are not in power. The Israelites have not been regathered up. It has not happened. The prophecy of the Edomites taking Israel and having the dominion over the earth, all right, and claiming to be the people of the Lord, that prophecy has happened. Hence the reason why all rabbis and all pastors do not talk about Ezekiel the 36th chapter. They barely talk about 37. They go straight to 38 and then try to put themselves in there somehow. All right. That's what they do. Okay, let's go to Deuteronomy 28th chapter now. Let's actually read some of the curses. This is Deuteronomy 28. And I'm just going straight to it. I'll read some of it. I'm going to go to 43. And it reads, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Hence the reason why you have all these foreign nations in so-called black neighborhoods making money off them. All right. And they gave a little bit more favor to the northern kingdom when it comes to businesses and business loans, et cetera, et cetera. But they still won't allow northern kingdom to put businesses in their neighborhoods. And when I say into their neighborhoods, in Edomite neighborhoods. All right. Deuteronomy 28:44. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. What did he say? Hold on. Let's go back.
They're not interested in that. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the... They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed...
Okay, well, he didn't mention the banks, but yeah, but we all know who controls that. That's why it says, they shall lend to thee, and thou shalt be the borrower, roughly. All right? He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. All right? Is most of your bosses are them. It's an Edomite or it's an Amalekite. Okay? Verse 45, and this is a very important one. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the Lord thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. The curses will be the identifying mark. All right? So the Israelites went into slavery, all right, with yokes of iron around their neck, and got scattered to all the nations of the world. Who did that happen to? They will be the tail and not the head. They will be the borrower and not the lenders. These marks will be upon them, upon their seed forever, so you be able to identify who they are. That is not the case with J-ish people. That is not the case with Israelis. The case with them is the opposite. They control the banks. They control the media. And then you get labeled with anti-Semitics when you point it out. You have nations that like I just watched the video with the Australians talking about coming down on people, you know, who speak against them or whatever. You don't have to even insult or anything like that. You can just disagree with their policy, and that is enough to get you labeled anti-Semitics. Okay? Verse 48, therefore thou shalt serve thy enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness. See that? In nakedness. How do we come? We came naked and in chains, both northern and southern kingdom. Because what they don't talk about, you know, and this is why you got so many Judites, Levites, Benjamites that don't believe that the Northern Kingdom are actually our people, because they don't know this history. The slave trade started with them. They were on the same slave ships, naked and in chains, being traded back and forth across the waters before they even went to Africa to get Judah. Okay, for 100 years, there was a slave trade going on with the so-called Indian, the Negroes of the Americas and of the islands, whose home originally was Jerusalem, the 10 lost tribes. The evidence of that is overwhelming. They just have cognitive denialism. Want to look the other way when they're proven wrong, because they're too proud for it, too stupid. Little of both. Hate to be proven wrong. Therefore thou shalt serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And they shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until they have destroyed thee. All right. And damn near 20 years, I have yet to see any relics of Israelis naked and chains with yokes of iron on their necks being sold on the auctioning blocks. But what I have seen is the auctioning blocks being closed on Jewish holidays, on J-ish holidays. And the records show you, let the records show, let the exhibit, the evidences show that the slave ships were owned by them. There's records of this on the internet. I'm shocked that they haven't even scrubbed the internet of this stuff yet. You figured they would have gotten rid of it by now. All right. And then finally, the kicker is Deuteronomy 28, 64 and 68. It says, and Yahweh will scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth unto the other. Remember, the Israelites among the heathen that have the appearance of the heathen. If you've been among the heathen nations for 5, 6, 10 generations, what do you look like now? It's so simple, man. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth, even unto the other, and thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even of wood and stone. So our people in these lands, looking like heathens, worshiping idols and all kind of madness. All right. But still among them, among the people, among the Israelites are his elect, his remnant. And the Lord is going to come gather up the remnant, not all of Israel, for we are like the sand of the sea, but he's coming to gather up the remnant. And the remnant are the ones that are going to be saved out of this upcoming destruction. And it will be the remnant's job. That's why it says, that's why Isaiah 4:1 is in place. Matthew 19th chapter, around the 30th verse. That's why men are allowed, the Israelite men, those 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel, that would be judges, who are going to be basically gods in immortal bodies, having the appearance of humans. That's what the scriptures say. Isaiah 40 and I believe 40 and 31. Now that I said it, got to get it. Yeah. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not be faint, man. We're going to be immortals, man. We're going to actually be able to fly. They're going to mount up with wings like eagles. All right? Not get tired. All right? And the Lord going to give us those Pringles cans full of seeds. All right? And Isaiah 4:1 makes it clear that you're going to have multiple wives. All right. Matthew in the New Testament backs it up. Okay. Isaiah 4:1. It reads, and in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. All right. How you called by a man's name? Marriage. And what is the Bible? And how is someone married according to scriptures? Not according to your fucking opinion. Sex. So you will have those multiple wives, all right? And 7 is a number of completion. So, and in Matthew, it says 100-fold. So you're going to have a whole lot of wives. Why? Because we got sand of the sea that's going to perish among the heathen, looking like the heathen, and those of our people who are going to perish that don't look like the heathen, they're still among the 2/3. They come back in the kingdom through those that make it. As simple as that. You have to start making children, bringing back the Israelites, bringing those giving bodies for those spirits to come back in, to come back perfect. It's really simple. All right, that is where we're headed. Okay. Final scripture, Deuteronomy 28:68. And it reads, and the Lord, or Yahweh, shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Egypt meaning a house of bondage. All right. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. The Israelites wouldn't see Israel again until the Lord took them back. All 12 tribes. And there, in what places we got sent to, there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen, slave men, and bondwomen, slave women. And no man shall buy you, redeem you. No one's going to save you from this condition. This was the punishment that we had to happen. All right. And once again, you know, these people just ignore. They have cognitive dissonance of all these scriptures and then there's relics to back up all these scriptures. There's secular history to back up all these scriptures. Just like you got, you know, at least a half dozen scriptures, you know, describing the Israelites being swarthy in complexion. The angels, Yahweh, Yahushai, the Israelites themselves being a swarthy complexion. That means dark complected. These people just are liars, and they just want to cover up and hide evidence. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash, Kwam Yasharallah, Abad Babal.